The survey was conducted in 2024, this April, and we sent invitations to all English-speaking members of IL and Tech. And we also encouraged them to share the link and invitation onward to their colleagues and acquaintances with international backgrounds. And as Maria said, we had a really great response, over 1,000 respondents. Thank you to all who took the time to answer the survey. Thank you to all who took the time to answer the survey. And who are these international experts? There was a vast amount of nationalities, over 70 different nationalities among the respondents. Most common nationalities were Russian, Indian, and Iranian. And most of these international experts are living near the capital here in Helsinki region, 61%, but also Tampere and Turku, large cities in southern Finland. The reason for moving to Finland in the first place was typically work for 40%, and almost as often these experts had moved here to study. Family reasons were mentioned with 18% of the respondents, and 4% listed other reasons such as politics, war, situation in the world right now, but also more positive ones such as Finnish culture and better life and circumstances. Our experts are not newcomers. Only 1/5 of them approximately has stayed 2 years or less. And almost a quarter have stayed for 11 years or longer. So we had good variety of answers from experts in different situations. And it's also important to note that our respondents are very highly educated. 47% have a university degree in engineering. Many have other university degrees or degrees from universities of applied sciences. And 12% have a PhD. 40% of our respondents have studied here in Finland, and so they have gotten their degree here. And then the situation at the workplace. Most typically, they are employed by IT service sector companies. That means programming and software companies. 37% of the respondents are employed in IT service companies. 1/5 works in engineering, design, or consulting firms, and almost as many work in industrial companies operating mainly in export markets. But as we can see here, there is a wide list of different kinds of employers, and we can see that our international experts work in many fields of the society. It was important to ask about the experiences and feelings of equality in their work communities, and the picture seems quite good. 2 out of 3 say that they feel often or almost always or always equal compared to employees born here in Finland. There are, of course, also more negative experiences. 13% feel that they are rarely equal or never. Our respondents rate their integration to be quite good in general. What is a little bit surprising in these results is that if we compare the groups by years in Finland, we can see that the portion of those respondents who feel that they have integrated poorly or quite poorly is approximately 1/4 and this portion stays almost the same, even though they have lived many years here in Finland. Integration can be helped by employers and their support, and 36% of our respondents stated that they have received some kind of support for integrating from their employer. This included, for example, language courses, familiarizing with the culture, or some kind of practical help relocating or finding an apartment. And as we can see here in this chart, those respondents who had received some kind of support also rated their integration better than those who had not received any support. Our respondents also feel that they have sufficient knowledge of employees' rights in Finland, but the portion of those who feel their knowledge is very good or good is, at least to me, seems to be quite small. And I would have expected that as they live in Finland for more years and get to know the country more, then the knowledge would also increase about employees' rights. But as we can see here, even among those who have lived here for more than 10 years, only 30% feel that their knowledge is very good or good. So there seems to be a need for more information. And then to unemployment, which is of course a very critical subject because of the ongoing discussions about migration policy and residence permits. We asked our respondents how long it took them to find their current job or most recent job, and the results can be seen here in this pie chart. It's clear that 3 months or even 6 months really isn't enough time. Even after 6 months, 17% were still looking for a job. And the possibility of being unemployed is not theoretical. Among our respondents, 24% had been unemployed in the last 3 years. Our experts had received help from various sources in their search for a job, and we asked them to evaluate how helpful that help had been for them. And we see the results here, and mostly the help wasn't very helpful at all. For example, if we look at the TE services, we see that only 24% found the help useful or very useful. So there is a clear need for more services and developing those services to meet the needs of these international experts better. Most useful help was found from other sources, such as own networks, friends, acquaintances, colleagues at the workplace, LinkedIn or other social media platforms, or different kinds of networking events. We also wanted to know more about the obstacles that these job seekers are facing, and we can clearly see that there are 2 main obstacles: insufficient Finnish language skills and lack of networks and connections. The language is a difficult problem. We all know that Finnish is among one of the most difficult languages to master, and it seems to be a requirement in many jobs, so that if you don't have sufficient Finnish skills or don't speak Finnish at all, that could automatically exclude you from the recruiting process. And it's of course understandable that moving from another country, there are less networks and friends and connections you could turn to. This presents a particular problem here because in Finland, most of the expert and middle management level tasks are often hidden jobs, so-called hidden jobs. They are not publicly announced, so that if you don't know the correct people, it's difficult to hear about the open jobs and possibilities. And also in a strange country, it's often difficult to identify potential jobs and companies that you could apply to. What's alarming and sad is that more than half of these job seekers had faced discrimination in some form in their search for a job. And then to future prospects, we wanted to find out more about how these experts looked at their situation and Finnish society and what kind of future they saw. Little over half of these respondents are planning to stay in Finland permanently, so we can say that they are happy with their conditions and situation. And little over 30% are planning to stay for a longer period, several years, even though they think they will eventually move somewhere else. But 6% are considering leaving Finland as soon as possible. We asked about the thoughts and reasons behind these views in open text questions, and for leaving there were two main reasons. The first one was economical. Job market has been poor. The salary level is lower compared to many competing countries, and of course we have all felt the effects of inflation and rising costs of living. But the second very often mentioned reason were the government proposals regarding immigrants and plans to change the basis for residence permits. It had made them feel unwelcome, and of course they are highly educated. There is a demand for their skills and input in other countries too, so they are quick to look at options if they feel unwelcome here. Then to these factors that attract our experts to stay in Finland permanently, very often good life quality was mentioned, and the possibilities of combining work and life and creating a good balance between work and other life areas. Finland was seen as a comfortable place to live with good social services, and also a lot of importance was given to nature and clean environment, security, and the justice system and respect for human rights. Those who have family here or have moved here with children always were seeing Finland as a good environment for raising a family, and they appreciated the safety and activities possible and open for children, and of course the good education system. And then to personal situation and prospects. We can see that these experts were feeling quite good about their job. Over 80% felt that the job was matching their own skill levels, and almost as often they felt they were satisfied with the job in terms of their career. Almost 70% felt that they had a real opportunity to build an interesting career path for themselves here in Finland. Even though finding jobs was difficult, they still felt that they could themselves influence their own position on the job market in Finland with their own actions. But then on a more sad note, 40% of these respondents had encountered prejudices towards their professional skills. It seems that there is a real problem in Finland in valuing and understanding expertise and degrees that have been acquired in other countries. And then on the views on immigration policy and attitudes in society in general, the really worrying and alarming result is on the first line here. 9 in 10 respondents were worried about the ongoing immigration policy debate in Finland. They still saw that Finland had relatively good reputation among international experts, and more than half were willing to recommend Finland as a place to work and live to other international experts who are considering moving here. But when asked about how they saw the future developing, the picture is much darker. Only little more than a quarter of the respondents believe that the prejudices against international workforce will decrease in Finland in the future. And only 14% believe that in future Finland would be able to attract better international experts than at the present time. And maybe the saddest results of all is that only 12% see that in 5 years' time Finland would be a better place for migrants. So when we look at this last chart, it seems that there is some kind of turning point going on. These experts have been happy with their situation so far, and they are still considering staying, but they don't see very good development in the future. Thank you. I'll end my presentation here, and Maria, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Elina, for the results that were positive on some notes, but quite negative on many notes, and especially regards to the attempts and wants of the government at the moment when it comes to international experts. So we hope that your voice is going to be heard in these future debates and in the lawmaking. But now let's give the floor to our commentators, and they will go as follows. So we will start with Petteri Oksa, Advocacy Director from the Union of Professional Engineers. He will be followed by Juhani Nokela, Director of Public Affairs from Academic Engineers and Architects, Tech, and he will be followed by Miika Sahamies, Senior Specialist from Akava. So, Petteri, the floor is yours.
Good day to all. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Elina, for your great job. And I have to add my thanks for all of you who answered this study. This is very valuable data for the unions, and I want to believe that for you too. And I really hope that together we can make a difference with it. But first, I want to point out that this topic is something that both employers and employees have a common goals with. This is not dividing the labor markets, this is uniting. So we can have a good basis to achieve something more with this. And one point from the study, from the survey, I really want to point out is that every fifth international expert who got unemployed does not found a new job within the 6 months. This is staggering in many ways. First of all, it tells something very sad about Finnish labor market. But if we are considering the new rules proposed by the government, that if you don't want to find the new job, so you have to leave the country. So every fifth international expert would have to leave the Finland, and this is something we really should not be doing. So in this sense, I cannot underline more that we have to forward this message to the government and all the decision makers. But then I want to quote the great artist Pablo Picasso. Picasso once said that action is the foundational key to all success. And with that, I want to emphasize that study in itself is just not enough. We have to commit ourselves to more action. Politicians need to hear these facts, and they need to hear the stories of the people behind the facts. And I strongly encourage you all to reach out to the decision makers by yourselves too, to repeat the facts, repeat your stories, repeat that we are in Finland, we want to be Finland, and we too hope that Finland would be a better place for all international experts in the future. Unions will be committed to this work too, but we need all the voices, and when there is more voices reaching out for the government, then we have a better chance to affect these things and make a positive change. So we can emphasize all the good things within the Finland and not those bad things we are seeing on this survey too. And this is my short comment for this, and I welcome all the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Petteri. And as Maria said, I'm Juhani Nokala from Academic Engineers and Architects, well, formerly known and not formerly, better known as TEC, and I'm their head of the public affairs. And I would also like to thank all those answering the survey. It has been really great data that to present for the politicians and others. We also already have a Yle making a news out of this, so I think that our voice and your voice will be heard. And we know that the hardest part at the moment is this 6-month rule, and if it become law, and we still try to push the government to make it higher the level, so maybe 6 months for everyone and maybe nine months for experts or something like that. So as Petteri said, there is a work still to be done. But as many said, my biggest worry is the state of our society, as the 90% of the respondents say that the discussion about the immigration policy worries them. And that's also one of the reasons why we want to raise the voice of the immigrants, the specialists in Finland, international specialists too. And we have been working with the organization called Specialists in Finland, and we hope all of you also take out the message at the moment, because we alone cannot make the change. And most frightening is, of course, that 1 out of 10 think that things don't get better in 5 years. And I think this is some questions that it really gives good view on how attractive Finland is to international experts. We want to give promise to those coming to Finland and Finnish society that your life will get better, and this is something that we all have to change. And what should we do? First, of course, I think the government should banish their ideas, maybe relook, come to think again, what's the state of the mind of their talk and so on. Although I'm not really optimistic about that. So there's some things that can be also do in workplaces. And the main thing I think, and it comes also from this is the language requirements. I could say from my own experience, we at our team are looking for a researcher at the moment. And of course, first thing was that just use the old thing and say that we need to have someone who speaks perfectly Finnish and can work. But then we started thinking ourselves again. So it's not about what somebody else can do. So at the Tech, we are now searching for a researcher that doesn't have a language requirement as Finnish being a native level or anything like that. We also, employers must then, when they are employing these people, they must maybe do some integration work themselves. I think about 1/3 said that their employer help them to settle in Finland, and one big thing is the language learning and language courses. And I think the one practical way of what everyone could do is that let those and give those specialists and all the workers coming out of Finland who need Finnish lessons to do some of the Finnish learning during the working days. That would be really nice, and that's not something that we need to wait for government to act. So, but mainly my message is that we need to raise the voice about the international experts and their future in Finland to make it better. Thank you.
Hi, good morning on my behalf also. I'm Miika Sahamies, Senior Specialist from Akava, that is a Confederation of Unions for Professional and Managerial Staff in Finland. I want to thank at first our important affiliates, Tech and IL, for organizing the survey. But most of all, I want to thank you who answered the survey and gave voice to those people, those international experts that Finland is so, one could say, desperately trying to attract to maintain the welfare state and to cope with the international economical competition. In my comment, I want to show you a couple of slides. First is about the work permits of the international workers that come to Finland. And as you can see from the slide, there's a years 2018 to 2024, where you can see that during the couple of 2 years, the amount of work permit for specialists, those that have the competence and know-how to keep the Finnish economy up and to give their talents to Finland, those permits have declined. And that's the kind of direction that should be quite opposite. And as we heard from the study today, many of you who answered the survey aren't that optimistic of the Finnish future and of the future of the foreign people or the experts in the Finnish society. So it's clear to say that effective actions are needed on different level, on national level and on company level, but on a personal level or individual level as well. In the second slide, there you go, are a couple of actions that have been made. But before going any deeper into those, I want to underline in my comment speech that basically no one comes to Finland just to pay taxes and to support just to support the welfare. People have reasons to come to Finland, as we heard from the survey. It can be work, it can be family, but the common thing is to build a better life for themselves. And by saying that, we know the atmosphere in Finland that isn't the best. And there was discussions or debate on the racism in Finland. Well, there have been during these late years, but especially a year ago. And during that conversation, the government adopted a statement to Parliament of the measures to promote equality or equality, as I translated the word gender equality and non-discrimination. There was lots of important objectives in the statement, but unfortunately, government's other actions don't support those objectives, as the immigration policies are mainly negative. So what I want to say in my comment is that the objectives of the government's own statement should be put into practice at this very moment. And besides that, the government should evaluate its own program from the perspective of these important values, not only from the, because of the important values, but also for economical reasons. The government should back up from the suggestions that weaken the conditions of economic growth in Finland. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all our commentators, and I hope and I wish that our points that we have made will be heard and probably also followed. Now it's time for some questions and also answers. Let me get them out. And it seems that I don't have anything here on my oh no. The question was that what was the population of the survey from Union of Engineers? And then there was a
well, if I'll answer this as
Yeah.
we wait for the technology to
yeah,
start
come
living again. The population probably was similar with Insinööriliitto members as in tech. The problem is that we don't register our members, or we don't register the information on their nationalities. So we only had to make an estimate based on which language they had selected as their preferred language, and I believe it's similar around 25%.
Thank you, Elina. And then there was a question that was partly answered by Juhani already about sending these results to the employer organizations. But I was thinking if, for example, Petteri, if you want to come and say a few words about this also, how we think and what is our feeling that how the employer organizations or associations are feeling about these issues. Petteri, please come forward.
Okay, it's always quite interesting to talk about from the perspective of the other organizations. But the employers' organization just yesterday, the technology industry in Finland came out and saying that these proposed changes, the 6-month rule, is just impossible for the point of view from the employers' organizations. And I very much feel that at least the employer organization and even more the companies are trying to influence the government on this. But as you know, the main problem is that all the governments are taken together from the very different parties, and the compromises have to be made. And the questions concerning the international experts and immigrations are very important to some parties, not so much to the others. And I worry that it's about the cohesion of the whole government, so the influencing is quite hard. But I strongly feel that all the employer organizations too are committed to trying to lobby this whole topic to the government.
And we hope that we have also people from the employer organizations joining our online event today. So then there's another question that we have. What are the action points for you as unions to improve the condition, especially regards of changing companies' mindsets? And here I think changing companies' mindsets would be as regards the requirements to speak Finnish, for example, or to be fluent in Finnish, which is a daunting task for anybody, or that how the companies could help with the integration into Finnish society and also into the companies. Juhani, would you like to come and answer the question?
Yes, thank you. And as I'm really same thoughts that Maria has, there's some special thing that we have actually done within tech during last year is that we actually noticed that if the international student has done his or her thesis with the company, as it's usual for Finnish students, then the employability is at the same level as that's for the Finns. So we have been working together with the technology industry of Finland, Aalto University and University of Tampere and those cities around them to find ways to help facilitate those thesis works to the companies for those non-Finnish students. I think this is some really practical thing that we can help, and I believe that when you employ the first non-Finnish company, then it's much easier to employ the second one. So, for example, many companies, this thesis work might be a good way to start getting integrating non-Finns to their companies.
Yeah, that's Petteri, do you have anything to add? Okay. Elina, please come forward. Elina,
yes, there was a question on sharing the survey results with non-unionized employees and other third parties. So everything we have presented here will be is public and you can share it. And we will also make it downloadable in our union web pages, both tech and Insinööriliitto. So yes, please discuss and share our results.
Yes. So they are there. Like I wrote in the forwards for the survey, they will be used for lobbying and for trying to change the mindset of the ministers and the government or the employers or what have you. So they are there for being used and for the general use. So please disseminate the answers and the results. So then there's a question coming, so we'll just wait a little bit. So the question is that, is there a reference for how internships for internationals affect employability somewhere? So we had Juhani answering on the thesis and how you make the thesis and how it helps you to be employed. So Mika will come and answer that question. Thank you, Mika.
Okay, that's a difficult question in many ways, and it requires more explanation of the Finnish work life. In Finland, quite many students that study in the higher educational institutions work during their studies. So it's it's approximately 60% of all the students work. Quite majority of them had an obligatory part of some sort of work experiences during their studies, and because of that, the internships as such as they are done in many other countries in the world isn't that popular in Finland at the very moment, but we all know that they are. There's more and more of different kind of internships coming to the Finnish working life, and in many ways it gives a chance to for people to put their door inside the door of the working life. But what's important for us as trade union confederations and unions is that those internships should be paid. We are against of free work, and nobody should be exploited in that way. So there are pros and cons in the questions of internships. But as to conclude, my comment is to say that to have working experience during the studies is really important to get a job after graduation and in the starting the career path. Thanks.
Yeah. So we're going to have a little change in the how we do things. So we do so that I will ask questions here, and you can sit down, so you can also discuss among yourselves. I got a note into my ear about this. So, and also I have something to add about the internships. So it can be hard for engineer students to get a place for the internship that is obligatory with the studies, and like Mika mentioned, that can also lead to the situation where you're not paid for your internship or for your practicum. Is that is also what it can be called. But if you get that and you do good work, then it's very possible that you are hired into the company. So that is also one way of getting your foot into the doorway of the Finnish working life. But it can be hard to get the job, like we heard in the survey. Then we have another question. Is there any help to get the immigrants integrated better in Finland? Where do we find resources assessing those services? We know that Finland is trying to do something about this, and then we have the Talent Boost program that has been set up. But Mika, do you have something to elaborate here?
As you mentioned, the Talent Boost number 2 so is the I think most important thing program, a government program concerning the talented or the experts.
Yes.
But besides that, there's different other acts, like one concerning the statement on equity and equality and non-discrimination. And there are minor acts inside that program that will be introduced probably during this autumn.
Yes.
And we will hear more of those. And we try to act so that those measures should concern the international students as well, because we know from many other surveys and research studies that that it isn't easy for the international students, and there are lots of things that have to do with the many kind of discrimination and other unfortunate things that we are trying to battle against.
Yes, thank you. Juhani.
And if I can add something like on a practical level, I know at the moment, since these employability issues are now coming to the responsibilities of the cities, they are building their services. For example, Helsinki, Espoo, Tampere, I know they have a specialized experts helping out international experts or any international in their city area. And of course, if you're a union member, we also can help out.
Yes. Petteri, do you have something to add?
Guys are so wise that I will
Yes,
stand behind what they say.
that's really good. And like it was in our survey results, the really good way to integrate people is by the employer. So that is definitely a measure that we are encouraging here based on the survey. So any help from the employer to get integrated better into Finland? Is it just a course in something or a language course or something that will help the international experts to integrate? So that is something that we are going to be driving forward, also based on the results. Then there is another question. Any way from the union that could influence the government's support for their international specialists, family members? For example, education support for the spouses, for example. Miika, do you have any information on the spouse program? I think that's what it's called.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know any more specific details at the moment, but what I can say is that we all that are sitting here are and belong to the trade unions are quite often consulted when the government is making their legislation, and it's safe to say that we all raise the question of the families in our answers to those consultations.
Yeah.
And what we do is to try to work like that the government would acknowledge the situation of the international expert. As I said earlier, it's not just the individual, but quite often their families, their spouses or other persons that are important to them that follow the international experts. So that's the core of our work in the trade unions.
I remember from a survey that we were also part very slightly. That was done 2 years ago by K2. And they had a lot of questions about the situation for the spouses. And it was not good. It was really hard, even academic spouses to find work, even if the other spouse moved to Finland because of the work. So that is definitely a thing that need to be addressed and taken forward, because if the family is not happy, then it's quite difficult to be happy yourself. And of course, you get frustrated if you have good education and you cannot find work in Finland, even though your spouse is working. And there was also a comment that this is very important for the foreigners to be involved in the society, also having family members and spouses working and having a normal life. Let's put it that way. I think we are now out of questions and comments. We are very, very happy for. I'm just waiting. Okay, many questions and comments in the chat. Thank you very much. We will go through them and take a note of what you raise and what kind of issues you have close to heart. They are very important to us, and like Miika said, will help to give the voice to the survey and to the international experts. One more question to the end. since we are going to be finishing by 11 as promised. It's coming up just a little. So the final question is, how can a new international student land a job? Seems to be quite desperate. So are there any jobs available in Finland? Of course, that has to do a lot with what one is studying. And I know a lot of our also Wolt drivers. So that's seems to be the reality. But of course, you would like to have the job in your own field and where you're studying. Any advice on this? Any of our commentators? Juhani, please.
Yeah, of course, this is hard question. Is because it's such an individual situations are different. I think first one is, as I said, is the thesis and maybe finding a place to do the thesis for the company. You can do those. Then, of course, it's during the summers when you don't have the university studies. Do you find a summer job? That's a way to get connections. I think this is more and more about connections. So while you study, try to mingle with Finnish students also. We many times have a hard time that Finnish students are together and then the international students are together. So if we can mix up with those, even with the free time activities, or maybe having a group work during some of courses, and try to find a Finnish friends maybe helping you out to have the networks that is needed. It's many times said that Finland is like a small country club, and it's in this kind, it's a really pity for those coming outside of the country club to find those connections.
Yes, very good, Petteri.
Yeah, and of course, if you're a member of a union, contact your union, and our career services can help you top your job-seeking game, make the basic things work properly, have your LinkedIn presence, make your curriculum vitae perfect or as perfect as it can be, and so on. Make things work for you as best they can, and unions can help with that.
Yes, that's what we do, and we also try to collaborate with the companies that they would, like Juhani said, have the courage to take the first step and employ the first international expert, even as a student, to get the best of the situation. So one more question, because we still have a little bit of time. Does anyone of you know the figure of expat job seekers? It could be a rough figure, of course. Me myself, I have no idea on this. So shaking heads. I think it could be a data that could be hard to find. But maybe Finnish statistics could have some numbers on that, but of course they are varying all the time depending on the situation. So usually Finnish statistics is following something that already happened. So maybe a rough figure from last year or something like that could be found in there, but unfortunately we don't have that. And then there's also a link that we recommend in the chat to where you can find some numbers of expat job seekers. Okay, we have that. Somebody found that. Thank you so much. And it's www.kotoutuminen.fi. So you can find it there in the chat, and you can click it so you can see something from there, and also other data on that website if that is needed. I think that's all that we have time for now. We thank you so much for being here today with us answering the survey. The results were worrying, but good as serving the purpose of the survey. And we will keep on doing this work. We will keep on trying to influence the government decisions and the laws, that they are in the benefits of you and of course this country. And we will have more online meetings in coming up this autumn, just to keep you posted where we're at and how things are progressing. So thank you so much attending this online event this morning, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.